Good evening and thank you for joining us. The 14th National People's Congress concluded its third annual session in Beijing with a number of draft resolutions passed. The top legislature's chairman, Zhao Leji, was absent because of respiratory infection. The closing ceremony was presided over by Vice Chairman Li Hongzhong instead. The closing ceremony of the third session of the 14th National People's Congress was held in the Great Hall of the People. In attendance was President Xi Jinping. 2,884 delegates attended the ceremony. Vice Chairman of the National People's Congress Standing Committee Li Hongzhong presided over the meeting. The NPC first voted on the draft resolution of the government work report. The report includes expanding domestic demand, boosting the integrated development of scientific and technological innovation and industrial innovation, and stabilizing the property and stock markets. The draft was passed with 2,882 votes in favor, 1 against and 1 abstention. Also approved were the draft amendment to the law on deputies to the National People's Congress and to the local People's Congresses at various levels, and various government budgets. In his speech, Li Hongzhong said this year is the final year of the 14th five-year plan. While the task of reform and development is heavy, it has helped lay a sound foundation for the realization of the upcoming 15th five-year plan.
Be committed to take one solid step after another in implementing and translating the great strategies and policies into reality.
And this concludes the 7-day plenary session. While leaving the venue, President Xi Jinping could be seen greeting Leng Chenying and Hou Haiwa, who are vice chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference National Committee. This year, the Hong Kong delegation of the National People's Congress put forward 2 joint proposals. Starra Lee, a member of the NPC Standing Committee, proposed a mutual housing fund pool. The move, she said, will allow residents in Hong Kong and the mainland to purchase properties in Hong Kong or the mainland directly from their home city, with limited quota under a closed-loop remittance system. 2 other Hong Kong deputies, Frank Chan and Nicholas Chan, meanwhile proposed the establishment of a carbon trading market. Frank Chan said China's green energy infrastructure accounts for 30% of the world's total, and the carbon emissions saved can be converted into carbon emission rights and sold internationally. Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte was arrested at Manila's International Airport today on order of the International Criminal Court, or ICC. The arrest is in connection with a case of crime against humanity for thousands killed in a war he waged against drugs during his political career, which spanned decades. Tracy Furness has more.
Just a few days ago, the former Philippine president was in Hong Kong with his daughter, Sara Duterte, the current vice president, rallying support from Filipinos living in the city for the May 12th midterm elections. This while the International Criminal Court was investigating the large number of killings by police and gunmen during the former president's term in office in his campaign to crack down on illegal drugs. On his return to the Philippines today, Duterte was arrested at the airport, with police taking him into custody on orders of the ICC. One of his lawyers said the former president has been deprived of his legal rights.
I feel that he's being deprived of his legal rights. Even as former president, huwag mo nang pansinin yun, basta tao, Pilipino, you are entitled to all the constitutional rights as provided by our Constitution.
Duterte's arrest and downfall stunned and drove families of the victims of his bloody war on drugs to tears. One uncle of a teenage victim said, "This is a big, long-awaited day for justice." The Duterte administration moved to suspend the global court's investigations in late 2021, saying that Philippine authorities were already looking into the same allegations and arguing the ICC didn't have jurisdiction. Appeals judges at the ICC ruled in 2023 the investigation could resume and rejected the Duterte administration's objections. The ICC is able to step in when countries are unwilling or unable to prosecute suspects in the most heinous international crimes, including genocide, war crimes and crimes against humanity. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Washington and Beijing have reportedly begun discussions about arranging a meeting in June in the U.S. between the two heads of state. The discussions, said to be in their infancy, come amid the Trump administration's steadily escalating trade confrontation with China. Danny Zhou reports.
The Wall Street Journal reported on Monday that officials are in early-stage discussions about a potential summit between President Xi Jinping and his U.S. counterpart, Donald Trump. Sources say nothing is firm yet, but recent negotiations focused on scheduling the meeting around June, the two leaders' birthday month, which is intended as a gesture of goodwill for bilateral relations. The report suggests Trump tries to gain leverage ahead of the meeting by hiking tariffs on China. And as its economy faces mounting pressure, Beijing is keen to negotiate, hoping a summit might pave the way for formal trade talks to defy or ease Washington's additional tariffs and tech curbs. Trump earlier expressed hope for President Xi to visit his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, where they met in 2017. On Sunday, he was asked by reporters aboard Air Force One about whether he will meet with the Chinese leader.
At some point I will. I have a very good relationship with President Xi. Very good. And at some point I'll be meeting with him.
As both nations' leaders would like the other side to visit, a big question is on where the proposed summit will be held. Some analysts pointed out it may not be appropriate for Xi to travel to the United States amid ongoing tensions.
You got to be more thankful.
There are also concerns in light of the recent meltdown meeting between Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in the Oval Office. The South China Morning Post cited sources saying Chinese officials seek to arrange the Trump-Xi summit in a more formal setting in Beijing or Washington. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
The head of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, says Israel is weaponizing aid by blocking routes and cutting off electricity, affecting water supplies to civilians in Gaza. David Garrett reports.
Power supplies to the crucial southern Gaza desalination plant were cut by Israel, having already stopped aid entering the strip for more than a week. Without electricity, the pump station can't run, delaying supplies. Israel says it is doing this to pressure Hamas to extend the ceasefire and release hostages. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, calls it weaponizing aid.
It is critical that the aid is allowed into Gaza again, to maintain the progress made during the first phase of the ceasefire and meet people's basic need. Collapse, I believe, would create a dangerous vacuum in the occupied Palestinian territory and send shockwaves through Jordan, Lebanon and Syria. An environment in which children are deprived of education and people lack access to basic services is fertile ground for exploitation and extremism.
Backup generators have allowed some mineral salts to be removed at the desalination plant, providing some safe drinking water at a reduced capacity. Fuel is needed to run the generators, and that is in short supply.
Crossings into Gaza have been closed for the entry of cargo for 9 consecutive days now. OCHA tells us that the Karim Shalom crossing also remained closed for the collection of cargo for the 9th straight day, which is severely impacting the delivery of humanitarian assistance across the Gaza Strip.
The pressure Israel is trying to exert does not appear to be forcing Hamas's hand. The peace process has stalled. Mediators are trying to continue a fragile truce which expired. The fighting has paused, but the second phase of the Washington-backed peace plan has not yet been agreed. The US has been speaking directly with Hamas about the release of hostages, along with Arab mediators Egypt and Qatar. Israel has accepted an invitation to join negotiations in Doha. David Garrett, TVB News.
Welcome back. Greenland will vote in a general election today, seen by some locals as a historic chance to free themselves from Danish rule. This at a time when U.S. President Donald Trump has offered to invest billions of dollars into the island if it joins the United States. Daniel Rao tells us more.
The outcome of the election is uncertain, as no polls or exit polls are expected. All six main parties, including Greenland's ruling Inuit Ataqatigiit and government coalition partner Siumut, support independence, but differ on how and when it could be achieved. The pro-independence Nalarak Party, the leading opposition force, has gained momentum ahead of the election. The party believes US interest strengthens Greenland's position in secession talks with Denmark and aims to bring a deal with Copenhagen to a vote before the next election in 4 years. Greenland, a Danish territory since 1953, is 3 times the size of the US state of Texas, but has a population of just 57,000 people. The island gained some autonomy in 1979 when its first parliament was formed. However, Copenhagen controls its foreign affairs, defense and monetary policy and provides just under the equivalent of $1 billion a year to the island's economy. The local government gained more autonomy in 2009. This included the right to declare full independence through a referendum, though it has not done so on concern living standards would drop without Denmark's economic support. The island holds substantial natural resources, including critical minerals such as rare earths used in high-tech industries. Since coming to office in January, US President Donald Trump has repeatedly expressed interest in acquiring Greenland, saying the island is vital to US security interests. He initially declined to rule out military force in a bid to claim the island, although he later softened his stance. Trump stated he would respect the will of the local people, but was ready to invest billions of dollars if they joined the US. Greenland's Prime Minister Mute Eggert has stressed the island is not for sale and advocated for a broad coalition government to resist external pressure. In an interview with Danish broadcaster DR, he dismissed Trump's offer as disrespectful, expressing willingness to cooperate with other countries instead. Dan Rao, TVB News.
A cargo ship transporting jet fuel for the U.S. military hit a tanker off eastern England on Monday, setting both vessels ablaze and sending fuel pouring into the North Sea. All but one of the 37 crew members from the 2 ships were brought safely ashore. One crew member from the cargo ship Solong was missing, as the UK Coast Guard said it had ended the search for the missing crew member. Only one person had to be hospitalized. The 2 ships were still ablaze 12 hours after the collision. The incident triggered a major rescue operation by lifeboats, Coast Guard aircraft and commercial vessels in the foggy North Sea. The British government said it was assessing any counter-pollution response, which may be required over the coming days. The Marine Accident Investigation Branch is looking into the cause of the collision. Sources say the MTR is considering allowing passengers to travel with their pets on trains. The sources say the railway company will take various factors into consideration and continue to communicate with different stakeholders. According to the Census and Statistics Department, 240,000 households in Hong Kong keep cats or dogs. It is understood the MTR is exploring the possibility of setting up a carriage designated for pets or creating a light rail pet route. Sources say the MTR is meeting with concerned groups and evaluating the possible problems that might arise as a result of the move. The Hong Kong Medical Association said the city lacks organ donors. For every 1 million people, there are only 3.9 donors in 2024. Memo Sengai reports.
In Hong Kong, residents can register their wish to donate organs at the centralized organ donation register operated by the Department of Health. As of the end of February, the number of registrations recorded was about 395,000. Speaking to the media on Tuesday, the Hong Kong Medical Association said the organ donation rate in the city is far from enough. In 2022, the city had 4.7 donors for every 1 million people, while Spain and US recorded 46 and 44.5 respectively. In 2023, Hong Kong only had 3.2 donors per million people. By 2024, the figure increased slightly to 3.9. Medical experts said several reasons contributed to the discrepancy rate in organ donations between Hong Kong and overseas countries, including their medical systems.
Our ICU beds are not enough. In overseas countries, many, if not all, the potential donors are from ICU. If we do not have enough ICU beds, there's a priority to admit the patients who are savable instead of the brain death patients.
Zhao said many residents might not realize what impact organ donation can bring.
Maybe it's too remote to them. Death is too remote to them, so they do not think about it. So we need to, through a lot of media, to make more people aware of organ donation, which can happen either in yourself or your relatives or someone you do not know.
To promote organ donation, the Medical Association will organize a free walk between the Central and Wanchai Harbourfront in April. A quota of 200 participants will be allowed.
The association hopes residents gain a deeper understanding of organ donation, stressing that an organ does not save only one life, but the beneficiary's entire family as well. Memos 9, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.